Anchors up, sails at full. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing all right, Jared. I'm doing all right. How are you?
Yeah, doing all right. I think that's fair. Um, we don't need to goof around at the top of the show here. Ohio State lost. And I tell you what, I don't feel terrible about it. Obviously wanted to win. That goes without saying. This is a game in which nobody gave Ohio State a chance. And a field goal away from winning. And sometimes that field goal goes in, and sometimes the field goal doesn't go in, and on this particular day, that field goal didn't go in. Ohio State did this without their best wide receiver, their second best wide receiver for the last quarter of the game, and not their two best running backs, as we didn't even see Mayan Williams much after the first quarter. Obviously Henderson was not available.
And then Cade Stover out after his first catch too.
I was getting there.
You're out with your top two receivers, your top two running backs, your top
tight end,
and you almost won it.
And you almost won it.
And despite of some, I'll just call it some shitty calls that should have
Spike
been called.
said it too.
Yeah,
I'll listen. I know this is going to be a controversial take.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of the calls were wrong.
So that one there. So
I do think Georgia got that first down. And as much as you can call the hit on Marvin Harrison,
that was
dirty.
The game changer. That was the game changer, Jared.
I think so. I think so.
Resulted. But
it was shoulder to shoulder
to a potential touchdown.
It was
right there is the game.
Okay, let's see.
That was
Spikes has put a video in here.
I mean, it doesn't have to be helmet to helmet. If you look, Jared, well, you can't see that in the chat there, but
yeah, I know, but
it's
a shoulder to.
It does not have to be helmet to helmet.
No,
I don't know why people are thinking that. It does not have to be helmet to helmet.
Doesn't have to be.
It's a defensive player hitting
defenseless
to the neck or head area.
But he
was defensive. He was defensive, or
defenseless.
He was defenseless.
Yeah.
And he was hit by
in the shoulder.
Someone to his head. That
launching is an indicator, but he launched. Guys, the contact was initiated shoulder to shoulder. That's it. He did not hit with the top of his head. So that's like, there's a lot of confusion because there's targeting is two separate things. There's targeting that's meant to protect the hitter, and there's targeting that is meant to protect the hitee. You have the first, which is a blow initiated to the head or neck area. That's meant to protect the hitee. And then there's what back in the day we would call spearing, which is when you as the hitter, initiate with the top of your helmet. Back in the day, they called that a spear. And they've combined these two things into one thing, which leads to a lot of confusion. So they need to clarify. They need to do a better job of clarifying that. It was a vicious hit. It was an absolutely vicious hit, but it was initiated shoulder to shoulder. So
was a lot of other plays historically too, Jared.
Well, two wrongs don't make a right.
That exact play has happened. I mean, look at Bosa. Look at the Bosa a few years ago. That wasn't targeting at all. and they
Okay.
called that targeting too.
No offense, Kyle.
Like,
That's
and this
what
was
about.
so
But
much more vicious than that hit. So
No-
much more vicious.
No offense, Kyle, but that's whataboutism. Yes, that was a bad call, but that doesn't make that being a bad call does not mean you then have to turn around and do another bad call.
That's the point. Like, it's so inconsistent. I feel like the refs don't even know what it should be. Like, they don't know how to call it. I feel like whatever the refs are seeing on the field,
I agree,
versus what whoever is looking at the instant replays. Which,
I agree.
By the way, like, why are we, the viewers, not able to watch them either?
ESPN fucked that up. In both of those overturns, ESPN did not. They went to commercial instead of showing replays.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
You're not going to get any disagreement from me on that, and you're not going to get any disagreement from me on targeting being called very inconsistently. You're absolutely 100% right on both of those points, Kyle. But I don't think that changes the fact that the hit on Marvin Harrison was violent, was vicious. If you want to make the claim that the Georgia player did it with intent to hurt him, well, we can't prove that, but if you believe it, you believe it, and I'm not going to try and get you not to believe it. But the point is that it was initiated shoulder to shoulder, and therefore is not targeting. And like, you can disagree with me if you want on that. I've not seen a replay yet that looks like the contact was initiated to the head or neck area. Nor do I think the Georgia guy initiated contact with the top of his head. Those are the two things. And if someone shows me a replay that convinces me otherwise, then I'll change my mind.
And then the other controversial call, I think you should have left it to however the umpire or the referee called it on the field, because there was no concrete evidence to overturn it. And that's the whole point of review, is that you have to have indisputable evidence to overturn it. And again,
and by the way,
fucking it up, not showing the replays.
Yeah. Going to commercial instead of showing the replays.
No one knew until way after the fact. And even when you look there's no concrete evidence to overturn what was called on the field. It was fucked up.
And by the way, the replay officials had a rough day all over. Like, as much as I don't want to be like, as much as I don't want to support
the Michigan game too.
Yeah, they screwed Michigan on a couple replays as well. Now, I'm for that. Fuck Michigan. But yeah, like that touchdown that they overturned against Michigan was, yeah, his butt hit before he crossed, but he didn't, on that touchdown, he didn't have the ball possessed until he was in the end zone. He didn't have possession. Thank you, Spikes. Yeah. Replay officials had a bad day.
What was it? The last play too? That could have been targeting too. And that would have potentially gave a chance for Michigan to potentially win it as well. They got messed up, and they got again fucked up from the referees as well too. It was a terrible refereeing day on Sunday or Saturday.
Yeah, and I don't. We've spent too much time complaining about the refs. I don't like complaining about the refs. I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other on that Michigan hit. I don't think I saw. I don't think I saw anything. But that's not to say that it was or it wasn't. It's just to say I don't know if I saw it enough.
But either way, like, Ohio State started off in this game here, Jared. Ohio State started off pretty good, up 21-7, and you're like, oh shit, they playing really well. They got the turnover from Bennett, scored the touchdown, going up 21-7. You're like, okay, all right, Ohio State's doing some things. They're doing things here. And then here comes Georgia scoring 17 straight points, and then a great answer right before half for Ohio State going down the field there to get the touchdown to X right before halftime there. That was a
Yeah.
great response from Ohio State right before halftime. And then the start of the second half, Jared, what was that? That was like two straight 3-and-outs
Yeah.
from Ohio State's defense. And we're like, oh, no, Nose came out, made adjustments. And
Right.
I thought overall did pretty good job. I mean, we want to see better. I mean, you look at the final numbers. Yeah, it's you definitely want to see the defense play a little bit better. But these are two elite teams going at it, and in college football, elite offenses will always be better than elite defenses. That's just how it is.
In the NFL, it's the opposite. An elite defense will stifle an elite offense most of the time. There are exceptions, obviously, but most of the time. In college football, because the talent pool just isn't as deep, it's just not. And it's harder to play defense than it is to play offense, because you can, if one of your receivers isn't great, you just don't throw to him. You know what I mean? But on the defensive side, if one of their cornerbacks is not great, then you can target them all day, which Ohio State did, by the way. Let's see. Stewart says Jim Knowles need to figure out how to stop a run game. Spike says their run game is next level. Chop says don't care. We have athletes that should make up for it. No, that's not how this works in the playoffs. You don't have quote unquote athletes to make up for it. You're playing equal competition. This isn't Georgia Southern.
This is exactly like what Day said leading up to.
Then scheme it properly. They did. They stifled the run in the second half.
Ohio State had to win their one-on-one matchups, and we saw there was a number of times Ohio State did not.
Right. In an unfortunate situation, and I love Ransom. He's one of the best players on the defense this year. Dude tripped.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, shit happens. Like, it sucks. But they're human beings, and sometimes you trip. God, that sucks. You don't feel nearly as bad about it as Ransom does. I'll tell you that much. And by the way,
Yes.
the Georgia running back had a touchdown.
So did the running back from Georgia too. McIntosh. He ended up with the getting tackled from the turf monster as well.
That sucked, but we beat Bam on the same thing. Yep, sure did. It's football. That field, by the way, for an indoor field, had to have sucked. I don't know. It seems like a lot of guys were tripping. I know Mind Williams was having issue getting grip on the field. They went and had to cut the tape off of his shoes.
The socks, the socks off of his.
Well, and tape, socks and tape. Yeah. Why is footing bad in a dome? How does that happen? But for both teams, the footing looked bad.
Don't be surprised if we're going to hear a lot more of it about the push to go to all natural grass again.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That might be difficult for the domers. Can you use grow lights? Can you put in no? I mean, seriously, you can just get LED grow lights. Like, you build $1.5 billion stadium, you can afford some grow LEDs. Am I right? Do grow LEDs work on grass? I don't know. Yeah, the field looked bad, but it doesn't matter because both teams were playing on it. Yes. I mean, it does matter. It's inexcusable. You're a $1.5 billion stadium. The turf shouldn't be shit, but it's not. That's not an excuse. Both teams were playing on it. So that's both a big deal, but also not a big deal, if that makes sense. Georgia was used to it. Well, they had played on it twice before, right? Didn't they play? They played Oregon and there too.
This is their third time.
Yeah.
They played it just a month ago.
Yeah. But regardless, I don't care. It's not an excuse by any means.
Right, so looking at this here, Jared, like, I felt like Ohio State was that bend don't break type of defense, which I
advocated for,
which worked in a few scenarios. Forced Georgia to kick a few field goals, missed a couple of them. And yeah, I thought the defense did what they need to. Now, was there plays I wish it got back? Yeah, a couple of the trip from Ransom, or the missed tackle, or the long run, or the couple of long runs there. It Yeah, those suck, but I thought overall, I thought they did a decent job and gave Ohio State a chance to win it there, and ultimately should have, could have won it, but
Several dropped INTs. I don't think any of them were easy. Like the Cam Brown one kind of looked like he just straight up dropped it, but the Georgia player dropped it first, so that by the time it got to Cam Brown's hands, it was doing all sorts of weird shit. That's a way tougher catch than it appears to be, because he doesn't even know it's tipped. By the way, Cam Brown caught a lot of shit from Ohio State fans this year, and I'm not going to say deserved or undeserved. Played an excellent football game. Cam Brown played an excellent football game. You just, when a guy catches a lot of shit from fans, we also have to point out when they played well. Speaking of, CJ Stroud is amazing, and I love him, and I will miss him.
yeah,
Played like a fucking champion.
348 yards, 4 touchdowns, and made some gutsy runs in that last drive there to potentially win that game. Like, I don't want to hear any shit about people giving CJ and his effort and all of that. Like, he'll go down as one of the best quarterbacks at Ohio State history. Now
he won't.
He doesn't have the wins there that some of the other quarterbacks have had,
right,
which will hurt him. But as far as when it came to his precision, his accuracy, just on point accuracy, it's next level there.
Unfortunately, he won't go down as one of the greats because he was 0-2 against Michigan, which isn't fair because he played excellent in both of those games. He lost. He went to the playoffs and lost, which, because he's a quarterback, they'll put on him.
He'll have one
but they shouldn't.
He'll have one thing that he has better than Justin Fields. That's a playoff.
What's that?
And that's a playoff win.
Justin Fields had a playoff win. CJ Stroud did not.
You're right. I'm getting my ears mixed up. Never mind.
Yep.
Carry on.
There you go. CJ Stroud went to New York twice. Justin Fields can't say that.
He did. Yes. So look at our previous notes, Jared, here. We were talking about.
Sorry, but Kyle, before you go there, I just want to acknowledge something that Stuart said. The defense played an excellent game other than giving up 42 points. That's an incredibly funny sentence, but I also agree with it.
I mean, look at the Michigan and TCU game. Look how high scoring that one was. And Michigan having a great defense too. It's just, when you have this level here, offense is going to just be far superior than the defenses.
Yeah. But, and like Kyle said, in college football, and this is just a truth, in college football, a elite offense will defeat an elite defense. It just will. Look no further than Ohio State scoring 41 on Georgia. Look no further than this amazing Georgia defense, and Ohio State put 41 points on them. Georgia's offense, everyone talks about Georgia's defense, and I get it. Jalen Carter and crew, I get it. Excellent.
Yeah.
So excellent defense. But Kyle, hold on. But Kyle, it also needs to be stated, this is an amazing, and I mean amazing, offensive line. Ohio State played two of the best offensive lines, the best two offensive lines in college football their last two games. And like, if you want to talk about like why did Ohio State lose to Michigan the past 2 years? What changed? What changed, in my opinion, is that Michigan had one of the best offensive lines you've seen in the Big Ten ever, playing at Michigan for the past 2 years. And in college football, that just accounts for so much. And Ohio State's defense played well, considering they were not doing well against the run in the first half. They made some adjustments. They played well against the run in the second half. They got more pressure and absolutely, in my opinion, had Stetson Bennett rattled for a bit in that game, because Stetson Bennett took more pressure in that game than he's taken all year, like combined. The defense, I thought, played incredibly well, and it's weird saying that considering they gave up 42 points, but this is a really, really good Georgia offense. Wildly efficient Georgia offense. They don't ever really seem spectacular. They don't ever really seem flashy, but they're just wildly efficient. And that's exactly what we said during Know Your Enemy last week, and it's just true.
And Stetson Bennett played a great game as well too. It was just Stroud and Bennett really going at it, just blow after blow. And I mean, Bennett's the one that really kept them in the game there. He made some great throws when he needed to. Yeah, I mean, you got to give your hats off to Bennett there.
Spike says that's how semifinals go. Once a team gets a little bit of leverage, the points come in bunches. Yeah, it was a super streaky game. First, Georgia had all the momentum. Then Ohio State had all the momentum. Then Georgia had all the momentum. Then Ohio State had all the momentum. And then Ohio State missed a kick.
Yep. So in our
and that's
Know Your
just
Enemy episode,
that's just how shit goes.
In our Know Your Enemy episode, Jared,
like a heavyweight fight, win some rounds, lose some rounds. Yep.
You had CJ Stroud as your player to watch. Mentioned 348 yards, 4 touchdowns. I had a Mecca as my player to watch because everybody was going to be watching Marvin Harrison Jr. And look,
Mecca had a great game.
Team in receptions, led the team in yardage as well.
Mecca had a great game.
So
great game.
Really, so did Fleming. Fleming had a great game too.
100%.
All the wide receivers played exceptionally well.
Absolutely.
And then enemy players to watch. I think this is where we kind of missed out.
I disagree.
You had Jalen Carter, who was very effective, even though it doesn't show in the stats. He only had one tackle.
And by the way, I don't know how. I mean, Ohio State basically didn't try to run the game. Didn't try to run most of the time. Mine Williams had 3 carries. Xavier Johnson had 6. Dallin Hayden had 9. Hayden and Xavier had 4.8 and 4.7. Mine Williams got the touchdown, but was having struggles health-wise in that game.
Yeah, I agree, Z Spikes. Hayden had some good runs in that fourth quarter. He had some pretty good runs there.
When I say enemy to watch, Kyle, when I say enemy to watch, I say Ohio State needs to beat this guy if they want to win the game. And taking care of Jalen Carter, and I've been sometimes cruel to the interior of the Ohio State offensive line this year. I have been incredibly tough on them. They had a great game last night. Mm-hmm. The reason why Ohio State was in position to win the game is because they kept Jalen Carter in check. So that enemy to watch, in my opinion, was the correct call because Ohio State did neutralize him, and that put them in great position.
Yeah, and then mine, Jared, it was Brock Bowers,
which was a good call.
They kind of held him in check too. He only had 4 receptions for 60 yards.
2 of those were devastating, though.
They were, but
we gave up 8.88 yards per play. Tell me again about our defense. It was early in the game. Ohio State played very bend but don't break. They were letting Georgia get chunk yards and then sort of like shoring stuff up once you got into field goal range. And by the way, it worked. For the most part, it worked. They forced Georgia to kick a bunch of field goals.
Yes, you say, we gave up 8.88 yards per play.
Yes, letting.
We put up 8.5 yards per play against this stout of a defense.
When was the last time Georgia let up 8.5 yards per play? That's just how this game went. This is what happens in college football. Just good enough to lose. The strategy worked. And when it stopped working, they switched it up in the second half and they started playing aggressive. And the aggression worked until a guy fell down and you're in cover 0 and you were 1-on-1. That's the thing. Do you play a shell and keep all that stuff in front of you, but let them get 5, 6, 7, 8 yards and then, try and force them to kick a field goal or try and force them to make a mistake? Or do you play hyper aggressive, force some 3 and outs, stifle the run, but then you're screwed if one guy falls over? That's the balance game. You can't have 2 deep safeties and also cover the medium zone and also blitz your linebacker. Like, you can't do all of the things. You only have 11 players. You can't do it all. Are you going to play hyper aggressive and risk someone falling over and giving up a 76-yard touchdown? Because that's what happens when you play super aggressive. If you're going to play more conservative, guess what? They're going to get that underneath shit a lot. That's just how it goes. That's college football. And I mean, that's football in general, but that's really college football.
Ryan Day had to do that. He had to do that to potentially win this game, and could have won this game too. And it was because of the plays that he called there. And unfortunately, some of those 2 really good calls.
Give Kirby Smart, man, give Kirby Smart credit on that. And whoever the coach was that called that down to him, that's a huge play. That is a amazing big brain play by Georgia. You have to give them credit on that. That timeout to prevent the fake punt.
They're going to be talking about that for a long time.
God, someone up in the booth earned their paycheck on that alone.
Yep.
That was big brain. That was well played. Again, like, guys, I took Ohio State fans to task on this before. Sometimes it's not you. Sometimes it's them. And God, Ryan Day dialed that up perfectly. And he called it in a real ballsy, aggressive situation. They were Ohio State was inside their own 40.
Yep.
That's aggression. That took balls, and it was going to work. But man, they got the timeout in time. It's tough.
So speaking of that Chop Daddy, let's get into our grading, Jared.
Okay.
Coaching as a whole, I'd probably give it like an A. I'd probably give an A overall for coaching.
I give an A+.
It's just, yeah. They came in with a good game plan and executed for the most part, but was just short.
You got to go, Chop. See ya. I assume that's what that means.
Offensive coaching. This is where I'm giving my A+ to the offensive coaches. Just stout, very, very impressed with the game plan. They came in, knew that you weren't going to really run in this team against this team. You had to pass in order to run, and a lot of the runs weren't there, but they still kind of stuck it through. And
I think they ran the appropriate amount of plays. I mean, they ran the ball an appropriate number of plays. They did it just enough to keep Georgia honest, but at the same time, they knew that's not where they were going to make their hay. I think they did an excellent job with the offensive game plan. Again, they probably studied what LSU did to get some yardage. That worked to not to a certain extent. The offense had a great day. Maybe there's now holes in this Georgia defense that people have learned to exploit. But the offensive coaching staff gets an A+, and I'll jump the gun on this one, Kyle, and give Stroud an A+ as well. The quarterbacks or CJ Stroud gets an A+.
Yep. Same here. Don't need a don't need to
that
talk more
that
about
that pass in the back of the end zone to Marvin Harrison Jr. was insane. Like they had Reese Davis like, oh nope, that's incomplete. Oh, what the hell? When you can make Reese Davis look dumb, I'm all for that.
Reese Davis was a fucking idiot.
Yeah. By the way, the halftime guys, Desmond and a former Georgia linebacker, defensive lineman, I don't care. We're like, oh, this is the best. This is the best. I've seen stuff from CJ Stroud this game. I haven't seen. Shut the. If you're seeing things from CJ Stroud in this game that you've quote unquote never seen before, especially at halftime, then you haven't watched Ohio State and you're fucking stupid and you need to pull your head out of the SECS.
You're not doing your job. Yeah. Oh, and was it Reese too that was fat shaming Ryan Williams too? What the fuck? Really? If you're going to be fat shaming, you might as well be talking about Jalen Carter. God damn.
I don't remember hearing the. I saw people complaining about that. I don't remember hearing the comments, so I'll remain silent on that.
You know, to kind of take a line out of you, Jared. What was it? A few months ago, when you were talking about, when you were talking about our good old buddy Jimmy Harbs. Reese Davis, you can go fuck yourself.
I'm gonna have to turn monetization off on this one. Normally it's just me doing it, but you're getting double the fun on the F-bombs tonight, everybody.
All right, offensive lineman. I'd give the offensive lineman probably a B. I thought they did a good job. Not a great job, but I thought they did a good
hard disagree.
job. But man,
hey,
if that last drive though, CJ Stroud was running for his life. And yeah, and granted that Georgia called a lot of blitzes to try to pressure CJ Stroud, but maybe I'll say B plus. Like I thought they did a pretty good job. Not an excellent job, which would give an A grading, but a really pretty good job.
You have to consider, again, we grade based off of expectation, right?
Yes.
But the expectation isn't just limited to the offensive line and who they are. The expectation also has to consider who they're going up against. Where was Jalen Carter all night? The couple times he got through, CJ Stroud did an excellent job avoiding him. Kyle, I hard disagree. Considering the level of competition they played, the offensive line played well above my expectation for them. I'm giving them a straight A.
Okay. All right. That's fine. We can disagree.
We can absolutely disagree.
All right. Running backs.
Rossi had several key blocks too. Man, though, that illegal...
We'll get to the tight ends. Hold on.
Yeah, I know, but that illegal forward motion was killer, man.
Running backs, Jared.
That was almost as bad as the punt. That was almost as bad as the timeout on the punt.
What would you grade the running backs, Jared?
Almost non-applicable. Like they just weren't much of a factor in this game. Like a B, I guess, a B plus. Well, I just they weren't called on that much. Like it's hard for me to say they were. Oh, you're going lower.
Yeah, I'm going with a C here. And only a C because of what Xavier Johnson, which isn't a true running back, but he played a lot of the running back position too. He ended up having, what is this here? 72 yards and a touchdown as well for the game. But yeah, like you said, they were pretty much non-existent.
But they were non-existent because that was the design. You know what I mean? Like you had two separate.
That's fine, but I'm great. I'm fine. Yes.
Again, consider the defense they were playing and you had 2 running backs, 4.8 and 4.7 per carry. It's not their fault that they just weren't a part of the game plan.
Right, what would you said a B plus?
Yeah.
All right. Wide receivers,
A plus. Yeah, A plus.
A plus. There's nothing to disagree with that. Nothing.
For what it's worth, if Marvin, and this isn't a wildly original take, I'm sure 1,000 people have said it in the past 24 hours. Ohio State wins if Marvin Harrison doesn't leave the game. I'll say it.
Ohio State wins if they kept the call on the field.
I'm not going to complain about the refs, Kyle. We already did that. I don't like complaining about the refs. But
all right, tight ends here, Jared. Tight ends stat wise had 2 catches for 16 yards, but boy, I thought Rossi and Royer did a pretty good job helping protect CJ Stroud in the pocket there.
Yeah, there were also some miscues. And it's just hard with Stover going out. And
yeah,
I mean, you had, man, you had to go to Joe Royer, who hasn't played all year. You rolled into that game minus a tight end. Then Stover got hurt. So you're down to your third and, I mean, Rossi's a fullback. Let's just call that as it is. We include him into the tight ends because he's technically a tight end, but he's playing fullback. So you are essentially down to your third tight end, like totally out of nowhere, pretty immediately in the game, which I think caused some issues in pass protection at times. Yeah, it was not a, I don't know, that considering the position Rossi was put into, I thought he did a great job. It's not a fair expectation that he was going to be 100% ready for that game as a guy. So considering the position he was put into, I thought he did a good job. I'm disappointed overall with the performance of the tight ends, but like a guy got hurt. What are you going to do with that? You just have to adapt.
Tight end, though.
A B, I don't know. It's just tough because my expectations at the beginning of the game aren't really fair because, again, Stover left almost immediately. I hope he's okay. Have we gotten any updates on him? They took him to the hospital. When a farm boy stops the job in the middle of the job, you know you're in trouble. Farm boys get hurt, don't get me wrong, but they normally finish the job first. Like,
Ohio State tight end Cade Stover MRI on Saturday night came back negative. The MRI revealed back spasms.
Does an MRI reveal a back spasm?
I guess that's news to me.
Someone tag Gangland. Don't really. I don't think it does. Yeah, like an MRI doesn't. Anyway, we at least know all the bones are in place because I know, like, one of our doctor friends in the Discord server was a little bit concerned about a slip disc, but I guess the X-ray would have shown that, and the X-rays came back negative.
Right, yeah. Moving on to the defense here, Jared. Defensive coaching.
As weird as it is to say this, statistically, this game looks terrible for the defense, but I don't hate the job at all. I don't hate the job at all that Knowles did. They were getting gashed up front, which again, this is an amazing core of running backs, an amazing starting 5 up front for Georgia. But they adjusted, and that's what Ohio State never did in 2020 or 2021. If you were getting beat somewhere, guess what? You're getting beat there for the entire game because our defensive coaching staff in previous years weren't able to make adjustments. Ohio State came in with a game plan. It didn't work. They adjusted, and then it worked. And then Georgia adjusted and it stopped working. And then Ohio State adjusted back and it started working again. But that's what happens. And again, for the thousandth time, in college football, an elite offense will beat an elite defense. I don't.
A minus for me.
Yeah, I think A minus is fine. Really, I think it's fine.
I think the game plan was, I think, is what was needed to be done. I mean, there was some calls that shouldn't have been like, you shouldn't have done a one safety deep in that particular play, or whatever the case may be. You're going to have those, but I think as an overall job, I was,
if you're blitzing the stop to run, you're gonna be thin on the back end.
I was really pleased with the game plan that they tried to slow Georgia down, and they did to an extent.
Yeah, and then once they figured out that wasn't working, they went hyper aggressive, and that worked for a while. And then someone falls, and that's just how football is.
Defensive ends, Jared.
I thought defensive ends played incredibly well.
Zach Harrison played very, very well in this game.
Ohio State was a few plays, and this is, I think, something that Ryan Day says, and I think he said it again last night. Sometimes you're 2 or 3 plays away from winning a game. Was it Georgia's last drive that Harrison almost got that ball out on Bennett's backs? Yeah, inches away. That's the game. You're a couple inches away. Zach Harrison was right there. Again, it's a game of inches. Zach Harrison almost won that game. But again, sometimes you're just 2 or 3 plays away. If Harrison makes contact with that ball, if the kick is better, if Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't get hurt, if your safety doesn't slip when turning back, that's just football, man. That's just football.
What would you grade the defensive ends then? I say
A+. Going against one of the best offensive lines they've ever faced, A+.
All right, now defensive tackle is I'll say a little bit different there. I'd probably grade the defensive tackle as a little bit less here, probably like a B.
I mean, again, you have to consider the competition they were going up against. I'll give them a B+.
Okay.
Spikes says a C. Again, Spikes, you have to consider the competition. And I know they struggled at times. They did. They did.
I was hoping to see a little bit more push in that interior there, but I mean, yeah. Linebackers, Jared.
Steele had a great game. Eichenberg had a great game. I don't have any complaints for the linebackers. I don't have any complaints. Like, Eichenberg got quote unquote beat deep that one play, but he made the tackle. He was in a deep zone. He was never gonna stay with him, but he stayed with him enough to make the tackle. That's as much as you can ask from him in a situation like that. A couple missed tackles in the first half on the gashing runs. You're playing elite running backs.
It's still
it's going to happen.
If you want to be that elite team, Jared,
I know
you yourself have to be elite. I don't want this to turn into a James.
But he also made.
Well, we're not elite. Ohio State's elite.
Ohio State's elite. Ohio State's defense is not elite. Well, that's not a wild statement to make.
That's the next level. That's what 2023 needs to be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, Knowles made amazing strides with this defense this year. Anyone who's mad at Knowles, you have a goldfish fucking memory.
Yep.
You've already forgotten how disorganized and straight up messy this team was last year.
Mm-hmm.
And to have brought them as far as he has in a year is amazing.
Linebackers, Jared.
Uh,
Excuse me, not back. Yeah,
I didn't.
what would you grade them?
A minus.
Okay, and I gave them an A.
Yeah.
All right, and corners, Jared. The corners here.
I see what you
grade the
put.
corners?
I see what you put in there. I don't agree. I thought the corners played well. When they were matching up man on man, they were doing well. Zones are a little bit tougher. I thought Cam Brown had his best game of the year against Georgia. Burke got beat a couple times, but the times he got beat, he seemed to be either in a zone or playing back. So like it was just in the game plan to let him catch the ball short. No DPI. Was there one defensive pass interference or zero defensive pass interferences?
I think there might have been one. I think there might have been one there.
But I don't think it was on the corners. Was it? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. Ohio State finished 4 penalties for 24 yards.
That's excellent.
Very disciplined. Probably the most disciplined team. Disciplined game I've seen from this team all year.
And by the way, I that's the thing I meant to mention when I gave the coaching staff an A+. I just forgot. But that's a factor for sure in that.
I gave the corners a B-. I mean, you let up almost 400 passing yards there. That's I can't give you higher than that.
I don't think that's on the corners though. I think you're putting a lot on the corners, giving a lot of responsibility to the corners for things the corners didn't fail on.
And that's why I gave the safeties a C. I gave them a lower one there. So
yeah, I mean, I give the cornerbacks, I think like a B+ or an A-. They weren't spectacular. They didn't make a bunch of great plays, but they also just didn't get beat. Most of the times when you saw Ohio State getting gashed in the passing game, it was the safeties.
Yep.
You wanna write that down for me?
Which one for each?
Well, in the corners, I gave a B+.
All right.
Safety's not so, man, the safeties, I feel like we're the opposite. When there was a big play given up, I do feel like it was them, but I think they also played incredibly well. Ransom, how can I give him shit just because he tripped? That lots of people were tripping on that field, and it sucks. It's 76-yard touchdown, but he's a human being on what was apparently a slippery field. What am I going to do? Shit on him for that? He didn't mentally screw up. It's just his feet didn't quite catch.
Yep.
He made several key tackles. Yes, he did, Spikes. I thought Hickman had a very good game. Ransom had a game where he did a lot of things right, but also some things wrong. Not exactly sure where McAllister was most of the night.
Yeah.
Like a B-.
Okay. Yeah, and I gave them a C. It just, not what it needs to be.
Yeah, he just slipped when he didn't have any help. Yep. It was just
special teams, Jared.
I don't I don't want to join in what is a chorus of people being mad at a kicker for missing a 50-yard field goal.
He was, and including this one that he missed at a 50-yard. This year he was 0 for. Was it this year or his career? I'm gonna look, but I saw in here he's 0 for 3.
I think 0 for. Yeah, 0 for 3.
0 for 3 in
50-yarders.
His 50-yarders. Oh, in his career, Jared. His career.
0 for 5.
He's 0 for 5.
Yeah. Well, let me say
everywhere else he is pretty much money.
Yeah.
Everywhere else.
I mean,
It
there's a reason why they always had a different guy doing kickoffs. Not a super strong legged guy. And like, we can go into a conversation of like, well, if he's not good from 50, well, first off, he had plenty of leg on that. It's not like the ball was short. And also you're kicking in a dome. You say, oh, he's 0 for 5 kicking 50-yard field goals. How many of those are in like Big Ten conditions versus a dome?
Well, in one of those field goals he made, Jared, it was a 48 one.
Right. Yeah, by the way, he hit the 48-yarder earlier in the game with ease. So you can be like, if he's never hit a 50-yarder, why was Ohio State da 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 da? He was nailing them from 50 in practice. He hit a 48-yarder in absolute ease. And again, 0 for 5 from 50. How many of those were indoors? How many of those were indoors? It's a completely two situations in which kicking is a completely different game. Inside a dome and in Denver. You can just kick the ball further. Every NFL record you've ever seen for longest field goal was either kicked in Denver or in a dome. I'm not kidding. That's totally the truth.
Yep. So I'd probably give special teams. God, it's tough, but I guess like a B plus. I thought that, or I'll just say solid B. I'll just say a B.
Yeah.
Punting did a pretty good job. Other than the 50-yarder, Noah did what he needed there. Yeah, I think there might have been one
punt return
that got returned pretty well.
Yeah.
But that wasn't really to the punters or even the punter team fault, because he punted it right at the back of his own end zone. So he couldn't do his normal steps to punt it normally and to get time for the players to get out on the field too. So, but yeah, I'd say a B.
B minus.
Okay. All right. And we'll wrap it up, Jared, and give our Buckeye leaves. Offense.
Stroud.
Are
you going to give it to Stroud?
I'll find somebody else, Jared.
You can do Stroud, and I'll give it to Marvin Harrison Jr.
Okay.
Let's mix them up. That's all.
All right. And defense.
Zachary Harrison, I thought, had consistent pressure most of the night.
Yeah, and I'll give mine to Chambers. He made
turnover.
He made some great great open field tackles.
Yep.
And he had that interception as well.
The only turnover of the game.
Yep. And
although as a former running back, he should have returned that for a touchdown. I'm kidding. It's a joke.
And the wild card, Jared, who would you give the wild card to?
Ryan Day.
God damn, I was going to say that.
One of the things I talked about during, I'll give a long-winded explanation so you can find, or you can just also give it to Ryan Day. That's fine. One of the things I talked about during Know Your Enemy was, will Ryan Day learn his lesson from being too anal retentive during the Michigan game? Will he come out with passion, with emotion, willing to put it on the line, be aggressive, because it's something we saw out of younger Ryan Day, this sort of hyper aggressive, go get it, bleed the other team out on the field, sort of evil, dark Ryan Day. And then in the big games, we've seen him tighten up a bit. He played that entire Michigan game with his butt clenched. And one of the things I wanted to see from Ryan Day in this game was, can you be old Ryan Day? Can you be dark Day? can you come out and be aggressive, be aggressive?
Yep.
And we saw that. And I feel a lot better. I was never like a fuck Ryan Day, fire Ryan Day, whatever type of guy. I never was that. But my confidence is restored even after a loss.
Mm-hmm.
In a game, by the way, that most people weren't even giving Ohio State a chance.
Yep.
Hey,
there were some
winners cover
in the day where there were hyping up the game, and there's even some people that are saying, "Oh, what's your prediction here?" Both games are going to be blowouts. It's not. It's going to continue the tradition of the semifinals where they're going to be blowouts. Michigan's going to blow out TCU. Georgia's going to blow out Ohio State. It's going to be just blowout after blowout. Yeah, analysts in quotes. Yeah, exactly.
We call them analysts here.
For my wild card, Jared.
Yeah,
I'll give it to X. I'll give it to
Xavier. That's a good call. That's a good call. Played both wide receiver and running back last night.
Yeah, when they needed a little bit of a spurt there, he got it. And man, when I that touchdown that he got, I saw him streak. I'm like, oh, is he open? And I saw that. Like I was watching I think it was ESPNU, so I got to watch down the field view as well as the normal broadcast on the right side. And as soon as I saw him streak, I'm like, I just pointed, like, throw it. And as soon as he threw it there, I had my hands up in the air. I'm like, yes, that was awesome.
Yeah. Xavier kind of, especially down the stretch, kind of almost played like that Evan Spencer sort of role for Ohio State. Does Xavier have eligibility left? I don't think so.
I'm going to double check real quick, but
it's hard with 2020. But I don't think so. Kyle's looking it up. Kyle's looking it up. Guys, who you giving your stickers to? Who you guys giving your stickers to? If he does, he'll be a wild card next year, potentially.
Apparently he does have one
2020.
Yep, but he's on the fence about just saying, I'm just going to call it a career there or what. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, he's not someone who is, NFL type talented. But still an incredibly valuable member of the team.
Or he may hit the portal too, because he said here there's definitely an opportunity, saying there's an opportunity for me to have an impact, whatever capacity that may be. So
he could go to a lot of places in college football and start, and the wide receiver room at Ohio State's packed. I think if he does think he could make that leap to the NFL, he might need to go somewhere else to showcase it. And by the way, I won't begrudge it.
No. All right. I think that is it, Jared. You got anything else before we wrap things up?
Zach says Stroud and Harrison, and his wild card being Fleming.
Yeah.
Fleming Kyle already pointed it out earlier in the show, but yeah, Fleming had a really solid, very good game. I know, caught everything, which was an issue for him at times this year. But he caught everything in this game and caught them cleanly and caught them while running. Yeah, Fleming had an excellent game. I think, maybe those yips are behind him and he's ready to be an elite wide receiver next year.
6 targets, 5 catches.
Yeah. All right, Kyle. We had a bunch of people join the Discord server this week and just want to welcome everybody. And if you can also join the Discord server at discord.thesloopcast.com. Aside from maybe a couple people, I thought the Discord, like, I don't know, the moments after a Buckeye loss, whether it be a social media, if it's Twitter or a message board or whatever, things can get like real ugly and real toxic real quick. And I just want to say I appreciate my Discord server. I appreciate the people who are in the Discord server and who return to our Discord server, for being like one of the least toxic and level-headed group of Buckeye fans I've ever seen. We kind of do a good job chasing off some of the shitters. So that's partially us, but it's also partially the people who are the people and keep coming back. And I just want to say, again, in the moments after a loss, y'all were cool and y'all were, disappointed and sad and angry, but never toxic. And I just want to take this moment to say I appreciate the people in our Discord server for being cool in the moments after a tough loss. And if you're looking, if you, the listener, the watcher of this, are looking for a community like that, come hang out with us. Discord.thesloopcast.com. If you don't know what a Discord server is, it's like a pod of social media. It's just a server. It's a contained little social media place. It's somewhere in between a group chat and a message board. It's almost kind of like those old school chat rooms, but no one's going to be asking for your age, sex, location. I don't know. They might, but yeah, just a moment of gratitude for our community in, like I said, sort of tough moments of the season. No, age, sex, location, not as fuck. Did it autocorrect on you? Did it autocorrect on you, Zach? Blame the autocorrect. It's okay. Kyle, do you have anything in Kyle's corner?
No, I mean, that hurt. That hurt. That loss really, it hurts. It stings right now. But I think when we really look back, it's not one of the more painful losses that we've seen in Ohio State history, too. But yeah, I mean, it definitely stings now because you look back like, man, they had a chance to win that there. They did, but
that's, yeah, it's sometimes it lands and sometimes it doesn't. And you were just a few plays away. Yep. It's a thing we've already talked about. But again, I feel like it's one of those wins that, earns you respect and earns you reputation. It felt a little like the Clemson loss. No, I don't think so. I don't remember. Yeah. Oh yeah. Spikes. If that's how it felt to you, that's fine. But I'm just saying, I don't personally experience it that way. I don't know what I compare this to be honest.
I mean, the last, the loss to Alabama, I think pretty much every Ohio State fan was like, yeah, we don't really stand a chance to beat Alabama with the defense that we saw.
Right.
But I'd say this loss, I'm trying to think, like, I think that last loss that I felt like really bad about, not so much this, it wasn't this year's or 2022's Michigan game, but I think 2021 is the one that really hit me the most.
Yeah. This doesn't feel nearly as bad as the Michigan loss. I think that goes without saying.
Yep.
But
and as we're speaking, Jared, it's halfway through the second half, and the Buckeyes basketball team is up 54-30 on Northwestern. And then they will play this Thursday against home against the number 1 team, Purdue. And then they're on the road next Sunday against Maryland.
The 2003 game against Michigan, because it was the 100-year game and we lost. I'll tell you what was like, that's a topic we talk. It's like a fun off-season topic, like which losses stick with you the most.
Yeah.
2003 Michigan is not an answer you get a lot, but I think that's at least, what's the phrase I'm looking for here? That's a unique answer, and it's I think a nice thought out answer, a nice articulated answer to that.
Yeah.
All right, Kyle, end of the show?
Yes, sir.
Yes. All right. Yeah. Tonight's ending music we brought to you by the Cordial Sins. They're a Columbus-based band. You can, if you're new here, this is your first episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, we can't play music here because it's YouTube. But if you're listening to the audio version of this, the song will start playing here at any moment. And the YouTube people, there is a link in the show notes to the song if you still would like to listen to it. Again, if you're new here, we always play, or at least link to, in the case of YouTube, a song from an Ohio-based artist at the end of the show. So that's a thing we've done since the beginning of the show. Again, if you're new here, Kyle and I have been doing this since 2015. But yeah, with Quicksand. No, we won't be playing Quicksand. That song, is that even an American that made that song, let alone an Ohioan? I don't think so. But anyway, with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, by the way, I was thinking of Sandstorm, not Quicksand. The Sandstorm, that's Sandstorm, not Quicksand. Okay. With all that being said, it was going to bug me like hell if I didn't say that. With all that being said, I would like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, these are the Cordial Sins.